David, I know. I think I might get seasick if I continue to watch this, so. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'm lucky twice today in that I get to do my favorite thing, which is talk more product with you and learn about products from the person that actually is inventing it and bringing it forward. So today we're gonna, at this point, gonna shift into Cellergize evening. And I know, do we all have a lot of questions about Cellergize evening? So I want to start out with a question. So the Lifewave patches provide so many incredible lifestyle benefits. What in your mind really drove the move into nutritional products from the patch benefits into the needs from nutrition?
Of our company, we've wanted to emphasize the importance of proper nutrition, proper health, proper diet. And over the years, we've always recommended different types of health supplements for people that have been suffering from different types of health conditions. And this is something, of course, that we've done on Lifewave Connect to say, okay, if you are using the glutathione patch, you should be taking an N-acetylcysteine supplement to make sure that you have the precursor to make glutathione. So we've made these recommendations for years. So it seemed just to make sense that if we were going to offer a nutrition line or nutritional products, which our community has asked for many times over the years, that we should do this in such a way that it would be completely unique to Lifewave and complementary to our patch products.
Absolutely, continuing with that portfolio design philosophy of making sure that they're all connected, providing all the needs that we have. So was there a personal kind of aha moment or problem that you were trying to solve beyond just bringing that into the portfolio?
So the answer is a little bit different for the morning formula versus the evening formula. So the morning formula was specifically designed to pair up with any of our Lifewave patches. So the idea was that regardless of which patch you would use, that if you use the morning formula, you have the nutrition that you need to take best advantage of that specific patch. On the evening formula, though, the design methodology was a little bit different. The type of things that I was thinking about is what are the type of environments that people are sleeping in today. We're being bombarded by Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. People are watching their computer screens, their cell phones. And so now today people are having a very difficult time relaxing and falling asleep. So we obviously have products like Eon for stress reduction, which works great for sleep, or of course Silent Nights and Alavita. So the idea was that let's put together this evening formula to help people get into a state of relaxation that will optimize the effects of one of the patches that they would use for sleep. So that's why we included nutrients like magnesium, taurine, nattokinase for improving circulation. But the evening formula has many health benefits beyond just simply relaxation.
It does, and it's been incredible to see through tests, through some of the sampling, a lot of the incredible stories come in from people who have been using this new Cellergize evening. We've heard amazing stories about Cellergize morning. And to that point, you took a really interesting approach. You know, instead of developing just one product that kind of does it all, you really divided it up into the morning and evening. Can you talk about the strategy behind that, and do our bodies have different nutritional needs throughout the day?
Yeah, speaking specifically about the evening formula, magnesium is absolutely critical. So we find most people, if you look at the studies, about 60% of the population has a magnesium deficiency. So that's a good place to start. And we know that there are easily over 300 different biochemical pathways that depend upon magnesium. When people are under heightened degrees of stress, it takes a toll on their body's levels of magnesium. And in addition, it's very difficult to build up the body's levels of magnesium if someone has a deficiency. So let's say that you have a very poor diet, you haven't been supplementing with magnesium before, it could actually take up to 9 months before you balance out your body's magnesium levels. So this is why it's so critically important to have this in the diet. And magnesium is going to help induce a state of relaxation in the nervous system. In addition, in the evening formula, the type of things to think about are what would be some ancillary benefits. So for example, taurine was an important inclusion, not only because it helps relax the nervous system, but it also has some significant anti-aging benefits. We find taurine located in the heart, in the brain, and as people age, the body's levels of taurine start to decline. So there's some very interesting research that we've been looking into, as well as other researchers, on the longevity benefits of taurine. So those are some examples. Nattokinase seems at first maybe an unusual nutrient to include in this. But the reason, which I guess we haven't ever talked about before, but I'll share it now. And we don't have any of our lawyers in the audience. So
we made sure Doug didn't come. We made sure Doug didn't come.
Yeah, so nattokinase, of course, is very powerful when it comes to circulation. Meredith just gave me the evil eye, I can say it.
She's here representing Doug, I think.
Yeah, but if you look at this formula, we're obviously not going to be making this claim, but if you look at the literature, and you and I have talked about this on Lifewave Connect, because cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer, in addition to providing a formula that could help people sleep, there was the opportunity there to help people with heart disease and provide them with a product that could address a lot of these concerns. So for example, taurine is more effective than pharmaceuticals at reducing blood pressure. Nattokinase also reduces blood pressure and actually can remove blood clots from the body. Nattokinase will also dissolve the spike protein, which we'll probably get exposed to again in the future. Magnesium is known to help to manage healthy blood pressure levels, and L-theanine also reduces blood pressure. So when we easily could have marketed this as a formula for blood pressure management, but I think we're pretty safe marketing this for improving sleep, which of course is the principal benefit anyway.
Yeah, you mentioned, yeah, thank you for that. You spoke a little bit about this today, and I know you'll be touching on it also tomorrow, but can you talk about, in our general health and wellness, the importance of sleep, getting rest for the body, the impact that it has or the lack thereof?
Yeah, so we had done a study on silent nights a number of years ago with Dr. Norm Shealy, and we worked with people that were only getting about 4 hours of sleep per night. And we wanted to see if with silent nights, we could increase the amount of sleep and the quality of sleep and get them into a normal range, which we did. We were able to bump that up from 4.5 hours to over 6 hours of sleep per evening. And when we're looking at longevity effects, not only that we want to improve quality of life, but we also want to improve longevity, 80% of anabolic metabolism is going to occur in the evening when we're asleep. So this is the time, of course, when our body is going to repair, when we're going to be balancing and optimizing our hormones. And so if we're not getting at least a minimum of 6 hours of sleep, for most people, some people can function perfectly fine with less sleep than that. But let's say we certainly want to shoot for 7-8 hours of sleep, and certainly no less than 6 hours of sleep. If we don't get enough sleep, it's going to have an adverse effect on the health of our immune system and make us more susceptible to disease. So there's a whole host of quality of life benefits. And then in addition, we know that if people aren't getting enough sleep, that they'll tend to resort to stimulants during the day, and then they get in that vicious cycle of requiring caffeine, which produces an enormous amount of oxidative stress on the cells. So I'll be speaking a little bit about that tomorrow relative to how some people use caffeine as a pre-workout and what some of the pros and cons of that would be. So quality of sleep absolutely affects every single facet of our lives, and if we don't have an active program to improve sleep, we're going to have a negative impact on our longevity.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the things I learned from you, I think more than anything about sleep, was just its importance on your overall health. You know, we hear, hey, make sure you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and I think it almost becomes the one that we compromise the fastest. That, you know, hey, well, let's make sure that we're eating right. Let's make sure we're getting our exercise in. Let's make sure we're taking, you know, our Cellergize and using the patches. And then we feel somehow that there's some flexibility with the sleep, but it can have such a huge impact and consequences if we don't really get enough. So can you talk a little bit about the research and development process that you went through? Number of iterations, number of years. What did it take to get to Cellergize evening and then also the Cellergize morning?
Yeah, wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too
All right, I guess we're done.
No. Yeah, you know, I've been reading books on nutrition since I was fairly young, and have been actually, you know, I might as well tell this story because I think it's well worth it. The reason I became interested in nutrition was that I had terrible allergies when I was 11, 12 years old. And so my parents had me on medication. I had allergies for maybe 6 months out of the year, and I was tired and fatigued all the time. And I thought there has to be a natural way to solve this. And so at about 12 years old, I began reading everything that I could on nutrition, what was state of the art at the time, and just trying all different natural methods, different supplements. And then eventually I finally found out for myself that the combination of vitamin C and vitamin B5 formed cortisone in the adrenal cortex, and that acted as a natural antihistamine. And so I've been allergy-free now for the majority of my life, you know, 45 years. And then, you know, that once I realized that I didn't have to take medication and I could take vitamins that would get rid of my allergies and that I felt great, I thought, okay, I need to continue researching this, and let's see, I was always been very interested in longevity. So when the opportunity came up to put together formulas to match with the patches, again, the methodology was, well, first, for years we've been recommending different nutrients to go with different patches. So for example, on our carnosine patch, we find the principal amino acid which rate restricts formation of carnosine as the amino acid alanine, and beta-alanine is the preferred form because that converts over to carnosine more efficiently than just L-alanine. And we find in diets that meat is the principal source of alanine, and so if people aren't consuming meat, they may not be able to make enough carnosine. So putting together the formula was, the morning formula was really a matter of looking at each patch and saying, okay, what are the precursors to the patch and what nutrients do we need to include in the morning formula to cover all the patches. And then again, on the evening formula, the methodology was quite a bit different. Let's use this to promote a sense of relaxation, an anti-aging effect, and might as well also design it, include enough of each ingredient that people that have high blood pressure could look at a healthy way of managing their blood pressure. So that was the thinking.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. So from a timing standpoint, when is the ideal time to take this in the evening? Is it at bedtime? Is it 2 hours before? Is it 3 hours before? when do you take it to get the optimal rest and relaxation?
Yeah, so this, of course, is going to greatly be dependent on the individual. So by the nature of that question, let's say we're assuming somebody works 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, what have you. And when we are thinking about sleep, this should be something that we're planning out. What that means is if we want to have the best quality of sleep possible, optimize our hormones, optimize our energy levels, we do need to think about what are the conditions of the room that we're in. Are we making sure that we're screening out light so that we're not keeping ourselves awake? Not to eat a heavy meal an hour before going to bed, because that could interfere with the quality of sleep. So because this formula is, it's not like taking melatonin 5 minutes before going to bed. An hour or 2 hours before going to sleep is fine. So maybe about 1 hour before going to sleep, people will feel they're going into a state of relaxation, and then they can go off to bed. So I would certainly experiment with the timing, but starting about 1 hour before sleep is a good place to start.
So as it relates to the X2O and the light enhanced water, you mentioned that some people do kind of get a little bit of an energy kick. So if you're gonna, with your glass in the day, do you want to take Cellergize Evening with that water as well? Do you want to save that for the morning formula, just in case you're one of those people that get the kick later in the day, or is this something you have to experiment with as well on your own?
Well, there's actually two interesting sides to the argument here, because first, I would say a safe bet would be to take the morning formula with X2O, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, what have you. And because we've definitely seen in studies and in real life and practice that X2O is very stimulating and will improve energy and metabolism. Now, the other side to this, if you want to try putting the evening formula in X2O, there's an interesting argument to be made for this, because what we would say is X2O, because it has a reduced surface tension, would drive the nutrients in the evening formula into the cell and make it more effective. But there is the risk that it will be too stimulating and it could keep someone awake. So that's up to the individual to try, but being conservative, staying with X2O in the morning is safer.
Gotcha, thank you. So, yes, please, thank you. So, are there any of the Lifewave patches that you feel that the Cellergize Evening pairs most effectively or well with?
I'm going to be covering this tomorrow.
Let's save it for tomorrow.
And going through the lifestyle program of how do you take. So what we're going to do tomorrow, this is a teaser now, is we're going to be taking all of the information that we've been presenting it today and putting it into a daily program. So if you're wondering, how do I use all of this information in my daily life, I'll be spending time tomorrow and we'll explain hour by hour how exactly you do that. So there are some patches, such as Eon, Silent Nights, Alavita, that are go-to for evening use. But then there's some others that are iffy. So for example, let's say we wanted to use the glutathione patch in the evening. I can't make a medical claim as to why you would do this. Okay, I'll use this example. I never travel without the glutathione patches. They've saved my life a few times. But let's say on an occasion like this, where we're up on stage a lot, we're speaking a lot, you can put the glutathione patch on your throat in the evening, and that will help soothe the throat, if you get my meaning. And it tends to be very effective. Under normal conditions, though, you might not want to use the glutathione patch in the evening because it does facilitate detoxification, and some people may wake up with a headache the next day. Carnosine is another one that's interesting. Anytime that I've tried to use carnosine my body is asleep, but my mind is awake the entire night. So some people sleep very well with carnosine, but it's generally not something we would recommend, but that's up to the individual.
So with just a minute or so left, how do you feel Cellergize Evenings sets the stage for what's next for Lifewave, where it's going, and what are you